If you live down around the equator, you could probably skip over this video because you're probably cooking hot anyway. But if you're sexy hot and like to stay warm in the wintertime, this video is meant for you. We're going to show you a little bit about how we heat the old farmhouse out here at Nelson Creek Farms today. Because quite honestly, it's just too dang cold to go outside and do anything else. You'll have to forgive the grainy quality of this video. We are down where sunlight doesn't usually get into the bowels of the farmhouse, below the dungeon level even. Halloween is coming. We know where to hide the bodies. Now, coal used to be cheap. Right now, I'm paying almost $200 a ton delivered. And because the house is so old and drafty, I go through quite a little bit of coal to heat the home every winter. Minimum on a warm winter with no wind to speak of, I burn about 4 tons. Normally, I burn about 6 in a normal winter. And at $200 a ton, that adds up pretty quick. So for this year, I have lucked out, and I have an abundance of firewood from a bunch of dead limbs and trees that were here on the farm that we've cut up. So I'm stretching out that $200 coal bill a little bit, or $200 a ton bill, by heating the house with firewood, which is something you can actually do really easily in one of these old coal-fired furnaces. There is a stoker that shoves the coal in through the bottom and shoves it up into the firebox where it burns. But there's also a large door on the front of the thing where you can actually shove wood into and burn, and it actually keeps the house fairly nice, warm, and toasty. And I like toast. One of the first things we need to do about starting this on wood or coal is clean out the firebox with this shovel. And here all you can see that I'm doing is digging around down inside the thing and pulling out burned firewood, which is just ash at this point. Normally there would be clinkers. And you ask, what are clinkers? Well, they're a rock thing, usually about yay big, of course smaller, larger, whatever. And you go in with this thing with fingers. And you grab a hold of them, pull them out, drop them here in the bucket down here, below here. If we can tip this up so you can see it. There is a 2-foot square tub sitting here on the stoker shaft, where we put all those hot clinkers when you're cleaning them out. But first, before we crumple up the newspaper or place kindling into that hole right there, we run the stoker for a little bit to force some fresh coal after a cleaning up into the firebox. Once there's a little dome of fire or of coal there in the firebox, we can put our paper that's crumpled up and the kindling on top of that. Now for today, we're just running wood yet. So I'm not running the stoker to force coal, that I still have some in our bunker, into the firebox. We're just going to burn strictly wood today. So we crumple up the paper and lay in some cedar from one of the trees and some old fence posts around the place as kindling to get the fire started. And of course then we put pine and whatever else that we have to burn on top of that. After the firebox over here is cleaned out, we take a whole bunch of freebie newspapers. No sense in paying for it just to go up into smoke. Anyway, we take it, wad it all up. Yeah, this is a fun job for the kids to do, is make crumpled newspapers. Once you get your kindling and your paper and whatnot into the firebox, and it's ready to go, the next thing you do is light a match and toss it in. And then you shut the safety valve. You got to shut that deal right here to help make the draft flow through cold air going into there and up the chimney. And you can hear the cedar's burning quite nicely. And you might even be able to see it. Yeah, we'll just move the camera over here. Yeah, you can see it. Yeah. Now that we have a nice little fire burning in the firebox, slowly warming up the old iron in this furnace, I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Now the reason why that thing is called a safety valve and clean out, yes, you open it up to clean out the ash and whatnot that builds up. You can kind of see the flame every once in a while in that. Now that is a donut shaped iron ring in behind that is the heat exchanger. So all the cold air coming down through this ductwork into the blower gets forced over into the bottom of the furnace down here and comes up around the sides and into this, around this donut shaped or top of this firebox, and then the hot air goes on up and out to the rest of the home. Now that is more of a clean out than anything, but if you've ever heard of wood gas, that occurs, cold gas does the same thing. When you put fuel in on a hot, I gotta close that. When you put fuel in on a hot surface, it tends to vaporize and make a gas. In this case, it is wood gas. They used to contain it and run vehicles on it during World War II during fuel shortages. So, yeah, it is something that's out there. So you can look that up on the internet. Anyway, when that suddenly ignites, there's a lot of pressure inside that firebox, and this thing doesn't fly open. It just kind of goes poof, and you know, just a little bit of an opening, just a hair, and that's it. All it does is relieve some of the pressure so you don't blow up the chimney. Now, one other really nice feature about these old coal-fired furnaces is the fact that if your power goes out, you can still feed them some wood and coal. Because as the product burns inside that firebox, the heat will drift up through all the ductwork above it and into the house. Now, some of the other coal-fired newer things, I don't know if that'll hold true, but on these old ones it does. As case in point, back in the early 80s, the power was out for 3 days out here when we had a huge snowstorm. We had the neighbors camped out in the house trying to keep warm, which was quite the ordeal. In fact, the kids and I and the neighbor, we managed to stay fairly warm for the 3 days. And, of course, with no electricity, we do have a lot of oil lamps in the home, which also help heat the house and, of course, light it. And you can even get a little burner assembly kind of a contraption to cook on. You can set like a small saucepan or something on it and warm up a can of soup, which works really well, plus light and heat. And that concludes today's video on how we keep the house nice and toasty in the wintertime. Don't have any AC in the house yet other than a window blower, but with a new furnace coming in a year or two, we will have upgrades here and there as well. So stay tuned for that, and we'll keep you posted on some of the things we're doing here at Nelson Creek Farms. Please, as always, hit the subscribe button, which lets me know you're actually watching the videos, and the little bell icon that's next to it. That way you can get notices on when we do another video. I'd really appreciate it, and thank you.